that would show the board's support and the district's support behind it.
Well, when we get through some of these issues that we're facing with currently, and I've written some things down in terms of a timeline. I would like to see something in place no later than August in terms of the utilization of that building.
Okay. Ms. Harry?
I just, not to beat a dead horse to death, I think everybody likes Spring Mill. I really enjoy the pride that I hear when community members and staff members alike speak about it and when the board speaks about it. It serves our community well, it serves our students, and I think you're just on the verge of tipping this STEM thing that's so important for our kids. And so I just really encourage the administration and the board to push forward with these creative solutions to sharing that facility and those resources with all of our children. And I also really encourage, given our financial situation, let's get creative about revenue creation through Spring Mill, and let's make that a priority. So, continue on that way. The only other thing that I wanted to add is that in regards to the fiscal recovery plan, I personally am glad that it's going to be, we must by statute support or submit this plan by May 2nd, but it's not an absolute type of thing. As opportunities present themselves, it can be revisited and it will be. So I'm glad that we made that point, Sharon. Thank you.
Anything else?
I'd like to say something. Mark, you looked at the spreadsheets that Rosetta gave you on the staff and how much, I think it was what, close to 500,000 for staffing for the benefits with all that.
Yeah,
We're not saying it's not a great facility, but we're spending $500,000 to staff that building. When we're cutting $3.6 million out of our budget, we have to cut out of that building too. And that's agreed. And there are no, we can't guarantee that say that there's full-time students in there all day. So I have a problem cutting teachers that are in the classroom 6 or 7 periods a day with kids, and we're leaving staff in the building that sporadically, depending on what is going on, if they have their classrooms there, doing that. Now, I know you were addressing, ma'am, the staffing out there. I have said, and I told Jill just before the meeting started, I would like to see the teachers on their field trips go over with the students, build their lesson plans, and they be the co-facilitators of the lessons that are over there in those buildings. That would save cost to the district. We're not paying salaries, we're not paying extra benefits, and just like when I grew up, we had parents that volunteered to come over and help with those facilities. Now, we just at the last board meeting did the after school, for when they have things after school for the supplementals. They're more than welcome to, do the same things after school. And I got the stuff from Lucas students that have come and done the facilities. We are $3.6 million in the hole. I'm worried about the students of our district first. And that is my view on it, and that's the way I see it.
That's probably something you need to discuss when your board meets. And actually, the actual reductions are $6 million. The net of the actual reductions that we've had to make were $6 million. Now that you don't net $6 million because there's the revenue from the solvency advance and there's payment for unemployment, but the actual reductions, if you look at the spending reductions we're having to make, the actual reductions are $6 million. So it just reinforces your point that it's a big number. So, okay, thank you. I'd like to move ahead with our agenda. Could I have a motion to approve resolution 16-14, which deals with personnel resignations? Could I have a motion, please? Ms. Hanrigan moves. Mr. Brown seconds. Ms. Bechtel, do you want to just hit the highlights for us on that?
Yes, it's just Basically approving everything that the Mansfield board approved at their meeting last month. There was nothing specifically, a lot of it was the non-renewal of supplemental type contracts and so on and so forth.
Any questions about that? You all still have copies of that, correct? This is just routine stuff. Questions? Roll call.
Mr. Brun? Mrs. Hammerhand?
Yes.
Mrs. Herring?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes. Resolution 1714, which is a few purchase orders. Could I have a motion, please? Mr. Brown moves.
I'll second.
Ms. Herring seconds. I looked at these. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at these? These are pretty routine things. Most of these the district really has no control over. Part of it is things they have to do as fiscal agent for payments. I didn't see anything in there that looked out of line to me or unusual. Any questions on any of those? Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Hammerhand?
Yes.
Mrs. Herring?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes. And for the benefit of the commission, at future meetings, once we adopt the recovery plan, then as we meet throughout the year, we will look at things like this to make sure they're consistent with the recovery plan. Now, the recovery plan doesn't get that specific, but for instance, if the district were proposing hiring a bunch of staff or something, then we would say, you know, the recovery plan doesn't call for that. So that's what we would, that's the lens we would look at these in the future, once we adopt a recovery plan. Service contracts, 1814. Could I have a motion, please? Ms. Herring moves.
I'll second.
Ms. Hammerhand seconds. Ms. Bechtel?
I believe you have a copy of all of this detail. A lot of it, there's unoccupational services through Mid-Ohio ESC, contracted tutoring for a student, funding through the early literacy reading readiness for some consultants. They do have a contract for maximum staffing solutions for the classroom and office relocation for this summer. And the Coca-Cola really is a contract that's been in place, but it was found that it was never formally approved by their board. It really has a lot to do with the rebates that are given for sales and who those go to.
Just a question on the staffing solutions, $52,000 proposal. Is that in relation to the plan for closed facilities?
Yes. Additional questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Hammerhand?
Yes.
Mrs. Herring?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes. And finally, Resolution 1914, approve the recovery plan. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Brown moves.
Second.
Ms. Herring, I'm so sorry. My hearing is not what it should be. Any additional comments on the recovery plan before we vote?
Well, again,
Mr. Brown.
It's a dynamic plan, subject to change, with all those things. Every dollar that's saved outside the classroom will be reinvested back into the classroom.
Yes. Yes. Roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mrs. Hammerhand?
Yes.
Mrs. Herring?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes. Okay. Any additional commission member comments?
I would just like to thank
Thank you. I would just like to thank the two young men who came here before the commission and the board to speak. One with the petitions and the other one just to lend support. I don't know how much you know this, but your actions today have spoken volumes as far as the level of education in this district. Thank you.
Well said, thank you. If we set a date for our next meeting, May the 28th, okay. Is it May 28th still work for everyone? Still all right? No? Can you phone him? Can you call him? Okay. Okay. Mr. Brown, you all right? Terry? Okay. Okay. Keep it to 28th then. Still 4 p.m.? Okay. With that, could I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, do you want to set the June meeting while we're at it? Brian or Rosetta, is it better to do, for your board's work, is it better to meet later in the month? What do you think? Rosetta or Brian, either one?
Our next board meeting is June 17th.
Okay,
If we could have it after that.
so sometime the week of the 23rd?
Yes, please.
What about the 24th? 24th of June? 24th, 10 days after Flag Day? Okay, let's do the 24th of June. Still at 4? With that, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Ms. Ian moves. Ms. Herrick seconds. Roll call.
Mr. Brun?
Yes.
Mrs. Hanrahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Herring? Mr. Marshall?
Yes. Thank you all very much.
May I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Gross? Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Mr. Ellswick?
Yes.
Ms. Klein?
Yes.
Just so everyone knows, we're going to take a 10-minute recess before we begin the second meeting.